You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
You know, some days you just come across pure genius. And it's a rare thing. You don't know when you're going to find it. But when you do, you have to celebrate it. You have to applaud it. Came across that today. Somebody posted that they should announce a sequel to Groundhog's Day. And then just re-release the first movie. Brilliant, man. Just brilliant. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. It is February 2nd already. Man, I swear it was just New Year's Day, 2019. Hey Thomas, how you doing? John, cool, Triple B, good to see you guys. Glad to see you're here. Today we got a fun show. We're going to talk about a little bit about the latest issue of the Bad episode. I keep saying issue. I call comics episodes and I call TV shows issues, which means that I'm the one with issues. But the latest episode of the Bad Batch, which had a lovely little Wookiee named Gungi, who was a Jedi Wookiee. So that was very cool. And then we are going to talk about, I finally got to see Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. So we're going to talk about that today. And normally I finish a movie and then I post online, hey, this was good, this was bad, whatever. Today I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. And none of them are bad, but there's just a lot to process with that movie. So we'll talk about that. But we're going to kick it off with some news. And we got some good news. Hey Ed, good to see you. Do you guys remember Hit Monkey? Show that popped up on Hulu. It was an animated show. It was part of the last things that Marvel TV did before Marvel Studios took over everything, and Kevin Feige was the boss, and Jeff Loeb was pushed out and all that. Hey Law. Yeah, it came out in like November of 2021. Shows you how long ago. Well, they've announced today, it's going to get a second season. I really thought they were just going to burn it and be done with it and just move on from everything that was, Marvel television related. But no, the show is actually getting a second season. Now, it was co-created and executive produced by Josh Gordon and Will Speck, which is hilarious, by the way, to work in the television industry with the name Speck because of what a Speck script is. But the first season of the Marvel series follows a Japanese snow monkey. And after his tribe was slaughtered, he joins forces with a ghost of an American assassin, and together they begin killing their way through the Yakuza underworld. Now, the first season was 10 episodes. Like I said, it started back in November of 2021. So it's well over a year ago. Thomas says, nope, I guess I have added something else to the list. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on Hulu. Well, season 2 is going to continue with Bryce and Monkey heading to New York City. So Hit Monkey in New York City, season 2. Again, I was floored by that because I had forgotten that Hit Monkey even came out, and I didn't think there was any way it was getting a second season. It was all part of that deal that they made that also included like MODOK, and there was going to be a Young Warriors series. It was going to have Squirrel Girl and stuff like that, but nope, it's still going. Go figure. All right. Another thing that's in the news today is I was already excited for this. There's a new series or thing coming up called, let me see if I get the name right. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. It's from Guy Ritchie, and it's going to star Henry Cavill and Isa Gonzalez. And if you don't know who Isa Gonzalez is, she was the co-star on Bloodshot. She popped up in a few other things recently. She's a really good actress. And we all know Henry Cavill. Well, they started filling out the team. Now, before I tell you who's in this, the story is a true story. There really was a ministry of ungentlemanly warfare. And it was started by Winston Churchill and frickin' Ian Fleming, the guy who created James Bond. So Ian Fleming and Winston Churchill created this clandestine squad to use unconventional and ungentlemanlike fighting tactics against the Nazis. And they helped change the course of the war. And this was pretty much the start of the idea of a Black Ops team. They were the first ever Black Ops team. So that's what this story is going to be about, is telling about this first Black Ops team that was done during World War II, used against the Nazis. And besides Cavill and Gonzalez, it's going to have, and this is a great cast, Alan Ritchson, who currently plays Jack Reacher. He plays Hawk on Teen Titans, and he even played Aquaman on the original Smallville series. Henry Golding, who played Snake Eyes in the recent Snake Eyes movie. He was also in Crazy Rich Asians. Enrique Zaga from Beyond the Universe. Alex Pettyfer, who was in I'm Number 4. Carrie Ells from The Princess Bride, Wesley. Hero Finesse Tiffin from a movie called After. I'm going to get this name wrong. Babs Olusanmoken from Dune and Star Trek Strange New World. And Till Schweiger from Atomic Blonde. So that's an amazing lineup. They say, Lyle says they were trained in Whitby, Ontario. There's a building there that is still standing, aka Building 101. Very cool. Thank you, Lyle. I didn't know that. So, but yeah, they're doing this movie, and I'm not sure if it's a movie or a TV series, but that cast is just phenomenal. I mean, first thing, there aren't many people that could probably make Henry Cavill look small, and I think Alan Ritchson is one of them. So if he's Jack Reacher big at that point, it's going to be interesting to see the two of them standing together. And I'm assuming Richardson's not playing a Brit. I'm assuming he's going to be an American. So this could be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing this and seeing how it progresses. All right, we got some other news. The neat thing about James Gunn is he's active on social media, so he responds to fans, and then you have something like this big announcement they did 2 days ago, and we're still getting fallout. Now, one of the things is somebody asked for clarification from him on the fact that that he says that the Flash is going to be is going to be a restart or a reset of the DC universe. And they're trying to figure out how that's possible if you're keeping like Amanda Waller and stuff like that going forward. And Gunn clarified, he's like, it's a soft reboot. So some actors are going to stick around and some aren't. And again, and people wonder, well, what about Henry Cavill? Why is he not? Now, I know that they made it clear that Henry wasn't hired for the new movie. He wasn't brought back for that. He was just brought back for the cameo. And they were in discussions about doing another movie. So he wasn't really fired because he wasn't officially hired. But and Gunn even says that, he bluntly says that Cavill's been dicked around by the previous regime. But there, I I can't wait to see Superman Legacy because I think we're all going to be watching it, trying to figure out, well, why couldn't this have been Henry? And I feel bad because that should be what we're watching the movie for, but I think most people are going to be watching for that, trying to figure out, well, why? Why couldn't they have just kept with Henry Cavill? So now, if they are planning on doing a 10 to 15-year thing, then I can kind of understand it because right now Henry Cavill's 39 years old. So if they do 15 years, then you're looking at a 54-year-old Superman. So Lyle says Julia Childs was trained there. They were also training women to become spies. Julia Childs was trained there for what? To cook or something else? Because now I'm wondering, is there a history of Julia Childs I don't know about? I thought she was like a housewife until she learned to cook, went to culinary school late in life. But if she's like a secret spy or something, that is awesome. I'm ready for that story. All right. So we're getting a soft reboot of the DCU. That's why we're going to have characters like Amanda Waller and Jason Momoa and stuff stick around. But we're going to get rid of Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck. And yeah. No, she was a spy working for the British Army. Julia Childs was a freaking spy. I love it. And with that voice, hello, I'm looking for the top secret documents. Oh my God. All right. He also went on to talk about what he said about the Woman of Tomorrow. And he said that they were specific about the Woman of Tomorrow being Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow being an influence for the upcoming Supergirl movie. But he says that there's other comics that are influencing them, but it doesn't mean they're doing an actual adaptation. That they're looking for the look and the feel or the tone of them and the touchstones of them for the team to follow, not necessarily a full-on adaptation. And the other ones that he posted about were All-Star Superman, Grant Morrison's Batman run, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing run, and one other one that I can't remember off the top of my head. But so don't look for an exact adaptation of these things. Look for just the tone and the feel of them. Let's see. JD says, while most people know her as a master chef, Julia Childs also served as a spy for the Office of Strategic Services, where she collected and analyzed top secret intelligence according to a history website. Damn, that's fascinating. Ed says, can you imagine Julia yelling, stop or I'll shoot? I'd probably stop due to laughing. Yeah, that's just... see, those go... those are kind of like the legends we've got here that... was it John Ritter was a sniper in the Army? And that Don Knotts was a drill sergeant? It's like, God, those are just kind of weird to me too. But Thomas says, yeah, age is definitely a good thing to consider with the whole Cavill debacle. Yeah, because they really do want to start with a younger Superman so that they can do these huge ongoing things. And you are looking at the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman being the hinge-pin characters. So, which makes me come back to how happy Jason Momoa was the other day after meeting with Gunn and Safran, and we kind of assumed, oh, he's going to play Lobo then, because that's why he's so happy. But if he's sticking around as Aquaman, then there must be something else that's got him excited. But then you also have to wonder, how much is this true and how much isn't? Because they do have 4 movies they got to put out this year, and they really don't want to cut off their nose to spite their face on these and say, oh yeah, that guy is not going to be this character anymore, and that guy is not going to be this character, because you still want people to go see the movie and to kind of make them think, okay, the Shazam and all these our guys are going to be moving forward, and maybe they have to do them so that the movies make sense. I think there's a lot more here, but we'll find out as it goes. Thomas says, I personally am happy to see someone more capable and who better fill the shoes anyway. Oh, I don't know about that one. I was a big fan of Henry Cavill as Superman, but I understand. Ed says, I read somewhere that he's going to be voicing characters in some of their animated shows. Haven't heard about that. I know that if you're voicing a character in a show, then you're also going to be available for the live action and vice versa. JD says, got to keep Momoa happy until the press tours are over. Yeah. You want everybody to think this is just going to be an ongoing concern for a long time. And yeah. But we'll get it figured out as we roll forward. I kind of look at this year as a lost year for DC. They're getting things kind of started and revved up. And they got to get through these 4 movies and finish off everything else. Hey, Kenneth. But by the time 2024 rolls around, I think we'll get the Joker sequel, the Todd Phillips Joker sequel, and we'll probably wrap up stuff like Superman and Lois, maybe the Harley Quinn series, animated series, those kind of things will wrap up, and then we'll go forward, and we'll still have stuff like the Batman, but we'll have to see. All right. You know what? Let's go ahead and take our first break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the Bad Batch. Be right back.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find a link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do, and thanks for supporting the EXP.
Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
There's something for every imagination at your local comic shop. Visit ComicShopLocator.com to find a store near you.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wickline show here on the Experience. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so, because we're going to be doing a big giveaway where we're going to be giving away a lot of CGC graded comics, at least one per show. They're supposed to be worth a pretty good amount of money, like I think $100 per comic. So, but it won't happen until we hit 1,500 subscribers. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have subscribed, tell your friends. See if we can get that number up there over 1,500. Also, if you're not following us on Instagram, we're trying to get to 500 Instagram followers there, because then we'll be able to go live on Instagram too. So you'd be helping us out by following us on Instagram. All right. Also, stick around today. We got a big lineup. We have What's in the Box coming up right after this, and then Space Cadets and Sketch It Up with Philip Ginn as the guest. So we got some good shows lined up today, so you want to stick around for that. All right, let's get into episode 6 of The Bad Batch. Now this one was, they're still doing the kind of one and done episodes where everything is, kind of self-contained. But at the same time, we're watching as the Empire is starting to spread out its influence, how it's getting bigger and bigger. And we watch the team as they go on this little mission to basically supply this group with codes, chain codes, because everybody needs to change chain code now, and Tech has created these chain codes that they're selling, and it's supposed to be just a simple black market business deal, but it goes kind of south when Omega sees the some of the guys who run the ship that they're on, or the space station they're on, torturing a Wookiee, a young Wookiee. Now, she, of course, goes to help because that's who she is. She's always going to dive in to try to help people without really looking too closely at the situation. But in this case, she's dead on right. And as they're fighting and escaping, we find out that the little guy is a Jedi, or at least he may have been a Padawan. It's really hard to tell with a Wookiee, because the only way you could tell the Padawan is they have a shaved head and the little braid. And I don't think they're going to make a Wookiee shave their head. And I don't think you'd see the braid. So he might have just been a Padawan. But this, of course, leads them to try to help him escape. And then once they help him escape, they've got to go take him somewhere, and the whole point is to get him to Kashyyyk, where he might be able to hide with some of his same kind. And of course, we know that Kashyyyk, which is the homeworld of Wookiees and the homeworld of Chewbacca, is being taken over by the Empire, who are using Wookiees as slaves. So they don't really spend a lot of time explaining that. And I don't think they necessarily needed to. I think it was pretty obvious. The Trandosians were there hunting the Wookiees, and that's what Trandosians do. That's their big thing. We see, but you may only have known Bosk if you're just a movie watcher. You don't get into the shows and stuff. Trandosians, like Bosk, they're kind of a cross between Klingons and Predators. They're all about honor. They're all about hunting, scorekeeping. Their god is the scorekeeper, and how many pelts and how many kills you have is what gets you into the afterlife. And their biggest rival and their biggest thing they hunt are the pelts of Wookiees. So having them on the planet makes a ton of sense, and having the Empire bring the Trandosians in also makes a lot of sense, because that's naturally what they want to do. They're good at that job. So it also makes sense why Bosk would become a bounty hunter, because it's in their nature. So it's an episode that has them helping out Wookiees and putting them up against Trandosians and Empire soldiers. And it does basically make this fit a little more into the better known universe. Right now they spend a lot of time hooking it into the Clone Wars, because it's a spin-off of the Clone Wars. They tie that in. So when you see Commander Cody or you see Rex and all that stuff, it ties into the Clone Wars or Rebels, which is great if you've watched Clone Wars or Rebels. But if you haven't, then you don't get those connections. But when they start doing stuff like connecting Wookiees to Kashyyyk, then you start going, oh, okay, now that makes sense. Now I see where it connects. And I think that's something the show has been doing better this season than they did in the first season. They've done that in a couple of ways. There was the racing episode, which really makes you think about, episode 1, and it kind of connects there. JD says, I wonder if any Trandosians tried to pass off Ewok pelts as Wookiees. Not really. They were just tiny Wookiees. You should have been there. They were vicious. Yeah, I could see them doing that. By the way, I love the Trandosians. I think they're a great race. I like Bosk a lot. And if you haven't read any of the what's that called? The new Star Wars, where it takes place way in the past. What's it called? It's like, when there's Jedis everywhere and stuff. Well, one of the Jedis that you follow is a Trandosian. High Republic, thank you. Not Knights of the Old Republic, the High Republic. One of the Jedis we follow is a Trandosian Jedi, which is the most bizarre concept, because, again, these guys' religion is killing and taking pelts and stuff. And that's just, I love a Trandosian Jedi because he's so out there. And also with the love of chopping arms off in the Star Wars universe and Marvel universe, Trandosians are great because they can regrow limbs. So I think his name is Skier. Skier, yeah, but kind of like a hiss sound to it. Skier, like long S. But hey, Jeff, good to see you. Werpenstein. Will Skier ever grow his arm back? Oh, so you are reading High Republic. Yes, I think Skier will grow his arm back. I think it's just going to take time. Because they did it quickly, then it wouldn't make sense. But having him do it, I want him to get to that Deadpool level where he just has that little teeny tiny one. We're talking about the Jedi High Republic, the High Republic era, which they launched a couple of years ago. This is all from the very first book they did, which I have around here somewhere. Yeah, I think Charles Soule wrote it. So it's really good, and I enjoy the High Republic, and I enjoy the fact that we've got Trandoshan Jedis, and it's very different and it's fun. So, all right, I don't want to get too much more into the episode because I don't want to do too many spoilers, but I am actually really liking the Bad Batch better this season than I did last season. Oh, JD just put the High Republic reading order linked in there. So if you're not familiar with the High Republic and want to check it out, there's a good guide. It is neat because it's a different era of Star Wars, and I like it a lot. I like it because it's different, but it's, we have different villains. We don't have the Empire. It's a lot of fun playing in that universe. Ed says, this is all new to me. What is the Bad Batch? Bad Batch of clones? Yeah, the Bad Batch is a group called Clone Force 99. They were enhanced clones where each one got a specialty. There's one named Wrecker who is extremely strong, bigger and stronger than most clones. There is Hunter, who is got scouting abilities. He's, they modified him to be a great scout. There's Tech, who's modified to be great with technology and has some mental capacity and stuff. Then there's can't remember his name. He's a sharpshooter though, and he's actually still working with the Empire. And then one of the regular crosshairs, thank you. And then one of the regular clones named Echo got tortured and modified by the Empire, and now he's part of the Bad Batch as well. And then there's two specialty clones that were not aged up. One was named Alpha and the other was named Omega. Omega is a female clone who people are speculating is force sensitive, but we haven't seen that, but she is wanted and they are hunting her. But the other clone that wasn't aged up was a young male who they called Alpha, who was then given to Jango Fett to raise as a son and became Boba Fett. So we're basically talking about a handful of clones and Boba Fett's sister is pretty much what the Bad Batch is. So will we ever get her in live action? Hopefully as an adult, I think would be awesome. Thomas says the Crossroads episode of the season was top notch. It was. But that's the thing, is that the first season, it felt very monotonous. It was all about Omega getting in trouble and the guys having to get her out of it, back and forth and back and forth. This season has been spending more time on the individual characters, telling these one and done stories. And so there is something going on overall, but most of it is, these one and done stories, like helping a Wookiee get back to a force sensitive Wookiee get back to Kashyyyk, helping a friend with they're not pod races, but these races, or there's one is kind of an Indiana Jones episode where they're helping an archaeologist explorer try to find a thing called the Heart of the Mountain. So there's all these little one and done episodes, but they're a lot of fun. So season 2 is much better to me than season 1 was. Season 1 wasn't bad, especially the movie part that started it. It really looks at the clones, and these are the clones that didn't do Order 66. So when all the clones turned on the Jedis, there are some that resisted. These guys completely resisted. Their chips weren't working properly. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, and it's a fun little area to play with. But all right, let's go ahead and wrap that up and move on to Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. If you guys don't know, this debuted yesterday on Disney Plus, and I had someone ask me on Facebook why I hadn't gotten over to see it during the theater when it was in the theater. And again, some of you know, some of you don't. I've been dealing with some health issues, which allows me to do the show, no problem, do my writing, all that. But I'm not supposed to necessarily be on my feet too much. So while I'm recovering, and so going to the movie theater for 2-3 hours, something I've been trying to avoid. I think the last movie I saw in the theater was Death on the Nile back in February. So it's been almost a year since I've been to the movie theaters. So I'm hoping, I think I'm at a point where I'm going to get over to see Ant-Man. So, all right. So Wakanda Forever. Going into this, I knew it was going to be an emotional movie. And I think it was going to be a bit of a mess because it had many masters to serve. It had to be a sequel to the first movie and keep up the quality. And the first Black Panther movie is top 10, possibly top 5 in the Marvel Universe. It is one of the better origin stories as well. This is a comic case that I had recently, the Batman Joker comic by Mark Silvestri, but I took it down because I wanted to reread it and I forgot to put it back up. So it's just a comic case. It's something will go up there soon. So they had to come up with a good sequel to a very good movie. The second thing it had to do was address the death of Chadwick Boseman in a way to honor him, but also find a way to move the story forward, especially since they didn't want to recast. They absolutely could have just recast and moved forward. A lot of companies would do that. James Bond does it all the time. Doctor Who does it all the time. Doctor Who has it written into the thing, but James Bond does it. Marvel's done it before too. They switched from Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle. Didn't miss a beat. They've done that a couple times. They don't like to, but they've done it a couple times. They're going to do it again with William Hurt passing. They're going to switch to Harrison Ford. Thomas says, "Oh man, they killed someone off without showing us a body, which is truly some great writing." Yeah, they didn't CGI him in. They didn't. I could have seen them using him in the spirit realm because that comes up. They could have mixed in flashback. I mean, there was a lot of ways they could have used him and either CGI'd him or used existing footage, but they avoided that. And I respect that. And I respect how they were able to tell the story and move it forward and how they even opened the film. They opened the film with him having died. And they don't necessarily come out and say what killed him, but we know it's a disease. And I think by not saying specifically what it was is good, because we know what killed him in real life was cancer, and that he was fighting it. And I mean, every time I look at the portal scene in Avengers Endgame, and he comes walking out, and he looks so skinny in the suit that it just breaks my heart, because you can see then, and nobody knew. He didn't tell anybody, and he just kept working. So they made this, effort to not move on to honor him in this way, but also to move forward with the story because they knew he would want that. And I think overall they did that well. Though there is part of me, and I know this is impossible, but part of me would have been interested in seeing how this movie would have played out with Namor versus T'Challa. Shuri is an interesting and appropriate replacement. I don't have a problem with that. But she's a different type of character. And they kind of address that in the story with, when she's talking to Killmonger about who she is and how she's dealing with this stuff. And whoever is going up against Namor would be different. Had it been, if for some reason they had decided to go with M'Baku as the new Black Panther, that would have been very different. Or if T'Challa, if Boseman hadn't died, or if they had decided to replace the actor. They got the guy from Bridgerton and went, okay, you're the new Black Panther. Go hit the gym and we're going to go. So I thought from that point of view, they did a remarkably good job dealing with all of this. I also think that for all the people out there who wanted it to be recast, I think they found a happy medium with that, with the end credit scene. Now, I'm going to assume everybody has seen it by now, that I'm the last one to see it, but go ahead and throw the spoiler thing up, would you, JD? I don't think we need the roll, but just the flaming thing. The mid-credit scene, we're introduced to basically T'Challa's son, T'Challa and Nakia's child. And at this point, he's 9 or 10 years old, looks like. He would have been born before the snap. So right after the other movie, or first movie. And, so now he's quite a bit older. But he's still a kid. And even though he has a different name, Toussaint, his birth name is T'Challa. As he says, Prince T'Challa, son of King T'Challa. Oh, sorry, Eddie, but yeah. Oh, and Sean too. Okay. It's on Disney Plus, guys. It is well worth the watch, but it is long. I was surprised how long it was. But so they do find that happy medium because we can see we're going to get another T'Challa. We're going to continue on, and he's the son of T'Challa. So I think that is probably the best of all worlds they could have done, because you don't just want to throw another character in his place, but they do have these time jumps that have been happening, so you could do this kind of thing. And maybe we don't get the new Black Panther in the multiverse saga, but then we're ready for T'Challa again, the new T'Challa, in whatever comes after this. So I thought that was handled really well. As for Namor and Talokan and all the changes made, I get why they did the changes. I get why. Well, first thing, I thought merging Atlantis with the Mayan and Aztec culture was really a good idea. because we've already been seeing Atlantis and stuff with Aquaman. DC beat Marvel out to the theaters, and there is a huge similarity between Aquaman and Namor. And I know Namor came first. So Marvel could have easily come out and said, yes, this is what we're doing. This is the character. And, we had him first. But the public doesn't see it that way. The general movie public barely knows Aquaman, doesn't know Namor at all, and is just going to look at it going, oh, it's an Aquaman clone. So to take him in that direction and to lean into the attitude and the danger that he brings, I think is a really good way to handle it, because there really wasn't an easy way. I mean, that's another thing that this movie had to deal with, was making Namor not seem like an Aquaman clone. I think Tenoch Huerta was brilliant. The character isn't evil. He isn't a bad guy. He is a guy who will do whatever it takes to protect his people. And I find that fascinating. And he says, does he have the little wings on his ankles, and can he fly in the movie? Yes. And it looks very cool. And the wings are important. And like I said, they change his origin, how he becomes Namor. Because even the Namor's origin and Aquaman's origin are just about identical too. So they find a different way to do it. It's much more in line with Black Panther's origin. He's his people are saved, like the Wakandans are saved by Bast and led to the vibranium. The people of Talokan were saved as colonizers came in and were trying to kill them all, and was saved by bringing them underwater, and also bringing them to vibranium. So I thought that was a neat touch to parallel the two, to show that the similarities between the two kingdoms, because that's really what's at play, is that the first movie ends with T'Challa pretty much announcing to the world of Wakanda's existence and what they can do. And then this movie starts, it's a few years later, and the world is upset because Wakanda isn't sharing their resources. And, Ramonda is very straightforward, like, look, you guys aren't worthy of these things yet. It's too powerful for you. It'll just mess you up, you'll just use it for war. And that makes a lot of sense, and I could totally see that. So, and we do see a group of mercenaries trying to steal vibranium from a outreach station, and them being stopped by the Dora Milaje. But there's the one thing about this movie that gets me is there's a lot going on, a ton of stories. I mean, just all over the board. So we're already watching Shuri trying to cope with the death of T'Challa, and then the other tragedies she has to deal with. And, the whole idea of trying to find a way to recreate the heart-shaped herb to bring back the protector of Wakanda. I mean, there's a lot going on for her. But then a lot of the sub-characters have stories. Ramonda has her story. Nokia has her story. Okoye has her story. And just down the line. Plus, you've got Everett Ross coming in. We find out Everett Ross has a connection to Val, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. So there's all that going on, and it gets very complicated. And again, it's a almost 3 hour movie. It's like 2 hours and 45, 2 hours 49 minutes. And it feels like that long of a movie. There are points it's like we could probably pare this back a little bit. Also, they introduced Riri Williams, which is another level of character development that has to be put in there. And I don't know if they necessarily give her justice, because again, there's just so much going on. Werpenstein says, it felt like they didn't have faith in Shuri to carry the movie, so they put too much of the load on everyone else. It's possible. And I think they could have taken some of it off. I would like to have seen them bring it down a bit smaller and focus on Shuri, maybe Shuri and her mom, or Shuri and M'Baku, because there's a dynamic there that they hint at, which I think would be interesting to play up on. Here's basically a warrior who's made a promise to keep an eye on T'Challa's sister, and everything she's doing puts him at an odd place. But then you've got similar type of promises and stuff with the Dora Milaje. So there's just a lot going on. Also, it kind of feels like a backdoor pilot in that we know we're going to get a future Wakandan series. And most people seem to think that it's going to be Okoye and the newer character whose name slips my mind right now, but the two that get the Midnight Angel armors. Not Io. No, it's Anika. So again, so that could be the spinoff series they've been talking about. Let's see. JD says, not just stopped, they were embarrassed. They knew when and where the strike would happen. They were fought and outmaneuvered. I didn't like that scene. Or I did like that scene. Okay. How big a part does T'Challa's mother play in this one? A huge part. There is a chance she's going to get an Academy Award for it. Angela Bassett just kills it with this part. I really do like the idea of Telecon. Yeah, I like Telecon a lot. Werpenstein says, I felt like they didn't. Oh, yeah. JD says, see, I saw the purposeful leadership by women is far more collaborative process than the imperial dictatorship leadership of. Okay, so I see what you did there. Yeah, Triple B, she did an amazing job. I'm like I said, I would not be surprised if she wins the Oscar. I would only be surprised because the Oscars seem to be biased against superhero movies. But she did an amazing job, and she did get nominated. So, I thought the introduction of Namor was really done well. I've got some nitpicky scenes with some of the fights. I thought the Midnight Angels should have gotten a little more to do if we're going to spend time setting up the armor and the whole thing about them putting it on and the constant mentioning of it. It's kind of like Chekhov's gun. They introduced the gun in the first act, but by the time we get to see it, all they used it for was as a paperweight. It says, I appreciate you doing this because I've never watched it. I walked out after 20 minutes of the first one being hard of hearing. I can't follow the accent and was lost, so I had to switch movies. Well, I hope you give it a shot on Disney Plus and turn the captions on. I'm getting older and I'm a little harder hearing as well. So I always watch movies with the captions on. So it is good. So I hope you'll give it another shot, Ed or Eddie. I really thought they did a good job introducing Namor and giving him a way to save face, even losing. The scene where he talks to Namora at the end. I'm never sure if it's Namora or Namorita because they're both characters from from Namor's world. But I thought that was good. My only complaint, and it's a minor one, is I'm not a huge fan of the outfits that the Talokans are wearing. And I'm okay if they want to leave them on all of them. I really wished oh, okay, it is that. Okay. I only wish they would have given Atuma a costume a little closer to what he wore in the comics. They give him the helmet, but I really wish they would have done it something a little more like in the comics, just because I thought in the comics he's pretty badass looking, and he doesn't stand out that well in the movie. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on the movie. I think it didn't need to be 2 hours and 45 minutes. I think they could have trimmed some of it, maybe taken out some of the subplots. I think they handled Boseman's death as well as you could expect, as well as anybody could. I thought Letitia Wright did a good job carrying her part of the movie. Angela Bassett was brilliant, and just down the line, I thought the acting was top notch. I really thought Tinoch Huerta did a great job as Namor as well. I'm looking forward to seeing him pop up again. I'm hoping that maybe the next time we see him, they move him into the other Namor suit, the black pants with the vest and the webs, because I think that's really cool. Let's see, JD says, I really wish they had cut Riri and just done her intro in the show. Yeah, they could have done it without Riri and come up with a different reason why they're fighting. But she was the purpose, or they could have just put in a general a lot of things they could have. They didn't need to give her the Ironheart armor at that point. But Ed says it's crazy how movies now push 3 hours. Remember in the 80s, most movies were like 90 minutes or less. I remember when Venom came out recently, and it was only around 90 minutes, and everybody's like, wait, what? Why are you only doing 90 minutes? Because you can make more money with a 90-minute movie because it's cycling through the theaters faster. The longer Marvel movies get, they're kind of hurting themselves because they don't, they can't get as many in a theater, show times in the theater. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there. Overall, I thought Wakanda Forever was a really good movie. I don't think it was as good as the first one. I think the first one really was strong, but I think there's so many things against it, especially the death of Boseman, that it was as good a movie as they could possibly make. I don't see, again, little tweaks here and there, trimming the story down a little bit, I think could have improved it, but not a lot. I mean, I think it's still a very good movie. So thank you guys for tuning in. Stick around for all the great stuff we got lined up. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe and all that stuff. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Good night, everybody.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.